The silence in my apartment was heavy after Rodrigo's message. For decades, I was the one who solved every problem, paid every debt, and smoothed every wrinkle in their lives. I had built my textile empire from a single sewing machine in a basement, dreaming of a legacy for my son. But that night, staring at the blue light of my phone, I realized I hadn't built a family legacy. I had built a golden cage for a group of ungrateful people. I spent the next 4 hours in my home office, surrounded by the ghosts of my hard work. I looked at the spreadsheets for my son's mortgage and the leasing agreements for Sophia's luxury SUV. It was all under my corporate name. They lived in a world of illusion, believing their status was their own doing. They treated me like an embarrassing relic of the past, someone to be hidden away when their high society friends came over for a party. At dawn, I called my lawyer Marcus. I didn't cry. My voice was as cold as the steel needles I used to work with. "Marcus," I said, "it is time to liquidate the family support accounts. Cancel the auto leases for Rodrigo and Sophia immediately. Stop the direct payments for their club memberships. I want a full audit of the Lake Forest estate. If they want to live a life without my presence, they can certainly start by living a life without my money." Marcus warned me that this would cause a scandal. "Let it," I replied. "I've spent my whole life being quiet and useful. It's time to see how they handle the noise of reality." By noon, the first domino fell. Sophia was at a high-end hair salon when her credit card was declined. It wasn't just a glitch, it was a total shutdown. She had spent years mocking my simple lifestyle while swiping my cards for her $1,000 treatments. Then came the car. The dealership arrived at their driveway to repossess the SUV while the birthday preparations were in full swing. The neighbors watched as the shiny black vehicle was towed away. Sophia was screaming at the driver, but he only pointed to the paperwork signed by my office. They wanted a vibe that didn't include me, but they didn't realize that the vibe they loved so much was actually my sweat, my hours, and my business. Rodrigo called me 30 times in 1 hour. I watched the phone buzz on the marble counter, feeling a strange sense of detachment. I remembered when he was a boy and I skipped meals so he could have the best cleats for soccer. I remembered the pride I felt when he graduated from college. Where did that boy go? He had been replaced by a man who let his wife insult his mother for the sake of a guest list. He had traded his soul for social approval. I decided to visit the party after all, but not as a guest. I drove my old, reliable sedan and parked across the street from their mansion. The old-fashioned mother was watching. I saw the delivery trucks leaving because the payments had bounced. I saw the caterers packing up the expensive hors d'oeuvres. The perfect birthday party was falling apart because the Bank of Teresa was officially closed. I felt no pity, only a deep sense of justice. Sophia saw me from the balcony. Her face, usually so composed and arrogant, was twisted with rage. She ran down the stairs and out to the gate, her expensive silk dress fluttering. "How could you do this?" she shrieked. "You're ruining Matthew's day. You're an old, bitter woman." I rolled down my window and looked her in the eye. "I'm not ruining his day, Sophia. I'm teaching him the most important lesson. Everything in this life has a price." Rodrigo came out then, looking small and defeated. "Mom, please," he whispered. "We can talk about this." Sophia was just stressed. I looked at my son and felt a sharp pain in my heart. "Stress doesn't make you cruel, Rodrigo. Just reveals who you already are. You told me I didn't fit the vibe. Well, this is the vibe of someone who pays their own bills. Good luck with the rest of the party." I put the car in gear and drove away. I didn't go home. I drove to a small, quiet park where I used to take Rodrigo when we were poor. Back then, a simple ice cream was a celebration. We were happy in our struggle. Now, we were miserable in our wealth. I realized that by giving them everything, I had robbed them of the hunger that makes a person human. I had turned my son into a shadow, and my daughter-in-law into a predator. It was time for me to be Teresa again. The next day, I started the process of selling the Lake Forest estate. It was a beautiful house, but it was tainted by their ingratitude. I also moved Matthew's school fund into a strict educational trust. He would have his education, but his parents wouldn't be able to touch a single cent for their lifestyle. I was cutting the puppet strings, one by one. I felt like I was waking up from a long, expensive dream that had turned into a nightmare. Sophia tried to play the victim on social media. She posted about toxic family members and financial manipulation. Her friends liked the posts, but none of them offered to pay her bills. The luxury circle she cherished so much was built on sand. Without the Miller name and the Miller money, she was just another woman with an expensive taste and an empty bank account. She learned very quickly that status doesn't pay the mortgage. Rodrigo came to my office a week later. He didn't have his usual swagger. He looked tired, older, and genuinely lost. "We had to move into a smaller apartment," he said. "The firm is struggling, and without your backup, the partners are nervous." I sat behind my desk, the same desk where I made the decisions that built our life. "Then work harder, Rodrigo," I said simply. That's what I did. That's what a man does for his family. "I'm sorry, Mom," he finally said. The words were quiet, but they felt heavy. I should have stood up to her. I should have told her that you are the reason we have anything. I looked at him for a long time. Apologies are free, Rodrigo. Respect is earned. You have a long way to go before I believe you understand the difference. I didn't give him a check. I didn't offer him a way out. I gave him a cup of coffee and told him it was time for his next meeting. I spent the next month traveling through Europe alone. I went to the museums I had only seen in books. I ate at small cafes and talked to strangers. No one knew I was a wealthy business owner. They just saw a woman with white hair and a curious spirit. I felt a joy I hadn't felt in 40 years. I was no longer a provider or a target. I was just Teresa. The world was large, beautiful, and full of honest moments that money couldn't buy. When I returned to Chicago, I decided to simplify my life further. I moved out of the large apartment and bought a cozy penthouse near the park. I filled it with plants and books. I started a mentorship program for young women who wanted to start their own businesses. I taught them about fabric, about margins, and most importantly, about dignity. I told them my story, not as a warning, but as a guide on how to stay true to yourself. Matthew started coming to visit me on weekends. Without his mother's influence, he was curious about my work. He wanted to know how the machines worked and how the threads became cloth. I took him to the factory and showed him the foundation of his family's wealth. He didn't care about the vibe. He cared about the craft. I saw a spark in him that I had missed in Rodrigo. Perhaps the legacy wasn't lost. It was just skipping a generation. Sophia eventually left Rodrigo. She couldn't handle the downgrade in her lifestyle. She went looking for another benefactor, but her reputation preceded her. Rodrigo was devastated at first, but then he started to rebuild. He moved back into a modest house and focused on his work. He started calling me every Sunday, not to ask for money, but to ask how I was doing. Our conversations were short, but for the first time in years, they were real. I am 65 now, and I feel more powerful than I ever did at 40. I realized that true wealth isn't about how much you can give to others, but about how much you can hold on to yourself. I am not a bank, and I am not a doormat. I am Teresa Miller, the woman who started with a needle and ended with an empire. My life is my own, and the vibe in my home is one of peace, respect, and hard-earned freedom. I am finally, truly, and completely happy. I invited Rodrigo and Matthew to my new home for a quiet New Year's Eve dinner. There were no socialites, no photographers, and no expensive caterers. I cooked the meal myself. As the clock struck midnight, we toasted to new beginnings. Rodrigo looked at me with genuine respect. "You were right, Mom," he said. I needed to find my own way. I smiled, held my grandson's hand, and felt the warmth of a family that was finally built on the truth. The Teresa Miller Foundation became my primary focus. We funded vocational schools and provided microloans to immigrant women. I spent my days in the field seeing the direct impact of my work. It was far more rewarding than any luxury party Sophia could have imagined. I saw myself in every young woman who worked late into the night to provide for her children. I wasn't just giving them money, I was giving them the tools to be independent. Rodrigo's career began to stabilize. He wasn't the hotshot he used to be, but he was reliable and respected. He worked his way up to a senior partner position, this time without my intervention. He bought his own car and paid his own mortgage. When he took me out to dinner for my birthday, he insisted on paying. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to me. He was finally becoming the man I had always hoped he would be, a man of substance. Sophia tried to return several times, claiming she had changed and missed the family. Rodrigo was firm. He had seen her true colors when the money ran out, and he wasn't going to be fooled again. He realized that a partner should be a teammate, not a dependent. He started dating a woman who worked as a teacher, someone who valued character over labels. I liked her immediately. She treated me with a natural kindness that was never forced. Matthew grew up with a different perspective on wealth. He spent his summers working in my factories, learning every aspect of the textile business. He didn't want a handout. He wanted to earn his place. He developed a keen eye for design and a deep respect for the people who did the actual work. I saw the Miller grit in him, refined by a modern education. I knew that when the time came, the empire would be in very capable and honest hands. I decided to write a book about my experiences titled The Thread of Truth. It wasn't just a business manual. It was a memoir about the complexities of family and the dangers of unconditional financial support. It became a bestseller, and I received letters from parents all over the world who were facing similar struggles with their children. I realized that my nuclear option had inspired others to set their own boundaries and reclaim their dignity. I spent a summer in the village where I was born. I renovated the small school and built a community center. Standing in the dust of the streets where I used to run barefoot, I felt a profound sense of closure. I had come so far, but I had never forgotten where I started. The old-fashioned girl was still there, but she was now a woman of influence who used her power to lift others up. I felt a peace that was deeper than any ocean I had crossed. As I entered my 70s, I stepped back from the daily operations of the business. I handed the reins to a board of directors, with Matthew as an observer. I wanted to see how the company would thrive without me. It did well, continuing my legacy of quality and ethics. I spent my time in my garden, painting and reflecting on a life that had been anything but ordinary. I was surrounded by a small circle of loyal friends who loved me for who I was. Rodrigo and his new wife had a daughter, whom they named Teresa. Holding her in my arms, I felt the cycle of life continue in a beautiful way. She would grow up in a world where her grandmother was a legend, not an embarrassment. She would learn the value of $1 and the importance of a kind word. I promised her that I would always be there for her, not just with a checkbook, but with the wisdom of a woman who had seen it all and survived. My health remained strong, and I continued to travel. I went to Japan to study silk weaving and to Peru to learn about traditional wool dyes. I was a student of life until the very end. I realized that curiosity is the secret to staying young. I didn't care about the latest trends or the guest lists of the elite. I cared about the beauty of a well-made thing and the honesty of a hard-working person. My life was rich in every way that mattered. Looking back at that 3 a.m. message from Rodrigo, I realized it was the greatest gift he ever gave me. It was the slap that woke me up and the fire that forced me to forge a new path. Without that betrayal, I might have spent the rest of my life as a lonely provider, ignored and undervalued. Instead, I lived a life of purpose, adventure, and true connection. I am Teresa Miller, and I am proud of every thread that makes up the tapestry of my life. The foundation expanded its reach to international waters, helping women in developing nations start textile cooperatives. I traveled to see these projects, often sitting on dirt floors and sharing meals with the workers. Their resilience reminded me of my own early days. We spoke different languages, but we understood the language of the loom and the dream of a better life for our children. I felt a global sisterhood that transcended borders. In Chicago, a wing of the Art Institute was named in my honor, dedicated to the history of textiles and fashion. At the opening ceremony, I saw Sophia in the crowd, trying to mingle with the donors. She looked tired, her beauty fading under the weight of her bitterness. She tried to catch my eye, but I simply turned away to greet a group of my students. She was a ghost of a past that no longer had power over me. I had moved into a brighter future. Rodrigo became a mentor himself, speaking at universities about ethics in business and the importance of family values. He often shared the story of our reconnection, using it as a lesson for young professionals. He admitted his mistakes openly, which made him even more respected. I was so proud to see him take ownership of his narrative. He had finally stepped out of my shadow and into his own light, a man of integrity and deep character. Matthew graduated at the top of his class and officially joined the Miller Textile Group. He didn't start in an office. He started on the factory floor, just as we had agreed. The workers respected him because he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. He brought new ideas about sustainability and fair trade, pushing the company into the 21st century. I watched him grow into a leader, knowing that the Miller grit was alive and well in him. I celebrated my 80th birthday at my estate in Lake Forest, which I had eventually decided to keep but repurpose as a retreat for the foundation's leaders. The gardens were in full bloom, and the air was filled with the sounds of my grandchildren playing. Rodrigo stood up to give a toast, his voice thick with emotion. "To the woman who taught us that the only thing more valuable than money is the truth," he said. We all raised our glasses in the sun. I started a project to document the stories of the older generation of workers in my factories. I wanted their history to be preserved, the struggles, the triumphs, and the quiet dignity of their lives. We created a digital archive and a traveling exhibition. It was my way of saying thank you to the people who had built my empire alongside me. Their faces, etched with years of hard work, were the most beautiful art I had ever seen in my long life. As I grew older, my home became a hub for my family. We spent holidays together, sharing stories and laughter. There were no more secret messages or cold shoulders. We were a family that communicated, that argued, and that loved fiercely. I felt a deep sense of security knowing that I had built something that would last. The threads of our lives were now woven together in a pattern of mutual respect and genuine affection for one another. I took up painting again, capturing the landscapes of the places I had visited. My art was vibrant and bold, reflecting the energy of my later years. I held a small exhibition at a local gallery, donating the proceeds to the foundation. It was a joy to express myself in a new medium. I realized that it's never too late to reinvent yourself, to find new passions, and to see the world through a different lens. I was a woman of many colors and many layers. My son David wrote a beautiful letter to me on my 85th birthday. He thanked me for having the courage to cut the cord all those years ago. He said it was the best thing that ever happened to him, as it forced him to find his own strength and his own worth. Reading those words, I felt a profound sense of peace. My tough love had produced a man who was truly free. I had done my job as a mother, and the results were more than I could have asked. I am 90 years old now, and I spend my mornings on my balcony, watching the city wake up. The Chicago skyline is a familiar friend, a witness to my entire journey. I think about the girl from the village and the woman I became. I have no regrets. The betrayal I felt that New Year's Eve was just the beginning of a much greater story. I am Teresa Miller, a woman of the textile, a woman of the truth, and a woman who is finally, gloriously, at peace. The Teresa Miller Peace Prize was established to honor those who work to resolve family conflicts through transparency and mediation. The first recipient was a young social worker who had helped hundreds of families rebuild their bonds after financial disputes. Meeting her, I felt a sense of continuity. My personal struggle was now a platform for global healing. I was a part of something much larger than myself, a movement toward honesty and respect. I recently saw a photo of Sophia in a local tabloid. She was working in a small boutique, looking worn and ordinary. I felt a fleeting moment of pity for her, but it quickly passed. She had chosen her path, and I had chosen mine. She lived in a world of surfaces, and I lived in a world of depths. I realized that the greatest punishment for someone like her is simply to be ignored by the world she so desperately wanted to impress. She was a ghost now. Matthew married a brilliant woman who shared his passion for ethical business. Their wedding was a celebration of two families coming together with shared values. I stood among the guests, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. The Miller name was now synonymous with integrity, and the next generation was already carrying that torch forward. I looked at the young couple and saw the future, a future built on solid ground, free from the shadows of deceit. I spent a quiet autumn in a cabin in the woods, reflecting on the nature of legacy. I realized that legacy isn't about buildings or bank accounts. It's about the values you instill in the people you love. It's about the courage to be honest, the strength to be kind, and the wisdom to know when to let go. I felt a deep connection to the earth and the cycles of life. I was ready for whatever came next, knowing that I had left the world a better place than I found. My health began to decline slightly, but my spirit remained as sharp as ever. I continued to meet with my students and oversee the foundation's work from my home. My family was always nearby, filling my days with their presence and their love. I felt a profound sense of being seen and understood by those who mattered most. I was no longer the embarrassing relic. I was the matriarch of a family that valued truth above all else. I was truly loved. I am 95 years old and my white hair is like a crown. I still wear my silk scarves, each one a memory of a journey I have taken. I am a woman who has lived a full and vibrant life, a woman who has faced her demons and come out on top. I am Teresa Miller, and I am finally, truly, and completely at home in my own skin. I have lived my truth, and it has set me free. My story is a good one, and I am proud to be the one who lived it to the very end. I recently received a message from a young woman who had just started her first business. She said my book had given her the courage to stand up to a business partner who was trying to take advantage of her. "You taught me that my voice is my greatest asset," she wrote. It was a beautiful reminder that our stories have power long after we have finished living them. I felt a sense of pride knowing that my words were still working in the world. I spent a quiet winter evening with Rodrigo talking about his father. We shared memories of the man he was before the wealth changed things. It was a healing conversation, a way to reclaim the good parts of our history while acknowledging the mistakes. We laughed and cried, and for the first time, I felt that Arthur was at peace too. We had transformed our tragedy into a triumph of the heart. We were a family that had survived the storm. I am sitting on my balcony now, the evening air cool on my face. The lights of the city are starting to twinkle, and I can hear the distant hum of traffic. It's a peaceful, familiar sound. I feel a deep sense of gratitude for everything I have lived through. The betrayal of that New Year's Eve was the hardest thing I ever faced, but it was also the most important. It gave me back my life, and for that, I will always be thankful. I am Teresa Miller. I am now 96, and my days are quiet and filled with reflection. I have a small garden on my balcony, and I grow the most beautiful roses. They are a symbol of my own resilience, delicate yet strong, with thorns to protect their beauty. I spend my evenings reading and listening to music, feeling a deep connection to the beauty of the world. I am at peace. I am complete. I am finally and truly home in my own heart, living a life of absolute truth. My foundation recently opened its 100th vocational center, a milestone that I never thought possible. Standing at the dedication ceremony, I looked at the faces of the young women who would now have a chance at a better life. I saw hope, I saw determination, and I saw myself. I realized that my life's work was far from over. It was just changing form. My influence would live on in the hands of these women who would build their own empires of truth. I recently saw a video of Sophia on a social media platform. She was trying to sell luxury products as an influencer, but her audience was small and her message was hollow. She still didn't understand that true influence comes from character, not from things. I felt a brief moment of sadness for her, but I quickly turned off the screen. I had no more room for ghosts in my life. I was focused on the living, on the real, and on the future we were building. Matthew and his wife had a son, whom they named Arthur Teresa Miller. It was a beautiful tribute to our complicated history, a way to honor the past while moving into the future. Holding that little boy, I felt a sense of infinite possibility. He would grow up in a world where his grandmother's strength was a legend and his father's integrity was a daily reality. He was the future of the Miller name, a future that was bright and full of promise. I spent a week at a quiet beach house, watching the waves come and go. The rhythm of the ocean was so comforting, a reminder of the eternal cycles of life. I realized that my own life had been like the tide. It had gone out in the dark times and come back in with a force of light. I was a part of that great rhythm, a woman of the earth and the sea. I felt a deep sense of belonging to the universe, a peace that was beyond words and beyond time itself. I am 97 years old now, and my memory is like a library of beautiful and difficult books. I can pull down any volume and relive the moments of my life. I am no longer afraid of the dark chapters, for they are the ones that gave the story its depth. I am a woman who has lived it all, and I am proud of the woman I am today. I am Teresa Miller, and I am finally, truly, and gloriously at rest in my own honest heart, living a life of pure light. The Foundation's work has been documented in a new film titled The Miller Thread. It's a powerful look at the impact of vocational training on women's lives around the world. Seeing my story on the screen, I was moved by the resilience of the human spirit. I realized that we all have a thread of truth within us, waiting to be woven into something beautiful. I am so grateful to have been the one to start this journey, and I am so happy to see it continue. I spent a quiet evening with Clara Grace, my granddaughter, who is now a young woman herself. She told me she wants to be a writer and document the stories of women like me. "You showed me that our voices have power, Grandma," she said. I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. My legacy was not just in buildings or businesses, but in the minds of the women I had influenced. I was a part of their future, a voice of strength and wisdom in their hearts. I am now 98, and my days are filled with the simple joys of a life well lived. I have a small balcony garden where I grow lavender and mint, their scents filling my home with peace. I spend my afternoons reading and talking to my family, feeling a deep sense of connection and love. I am at peace with my past, my present, and my future. I am Teresa Miller, and I am finally and truly free from all shadows, living a life of absolute and pure truth. My final book, The Weaver's Wisdom, has just been released. It's a collection of my thoughts on life, love, and the power of honesty. I wanted to leave a guide for those who are still looking for their own thread of truth. I hope it brings comfort and courage to everyone who reads it. I am still a teacher, even in my final years, sharing my heart and my soul with the world. I have done my work, and I am ready for whatever the next chapter brings. The stars are bright over the city tonight, a million tiny lights in the darkness. I feel like one of them, a small part of a vast and beautiful universe. I am Teresa Miller, and I am finally, truly, and completely free from all shadows. The story of the factory girl who built an empire of truth has come to its beautiful conclusion. I am at peace. I am home. And the light we created together will shine forever, lighting the way for others in the darkness.